This is just kind of a plan that, let's say I have a student who's come in and asked me, hey, Ezekiel, this is what I placed into writing 121. My math, you can place anywhere from a very basic algebra class, which could be like a pre-algebra, up to like a calculus course. So every college is going to be a little bit different. At the community college, it'll be different. As an example, at PC, they have Math 20 up until Math 251 where you can place, right? So there's a variety of it. So for this presentation, let's say a student placed in Math 111, which is your college algebra, which is transferable to many universities across the state. So place Math 111, we have Psychology 101. Let's say they want to go into psychology, and maybe they want to do a PE class or a health class to go along with that. Typically, your writing class is going to be a 4-credit class. Your math class is going to be between 4 to 5 credits. Your psychology class is going to be 4 credits. There you have your 12 to 13 credits for full time. However, I recommend most students do between 13 to 15 credits so they can finish out their degree within 4 years roughly. So you're going to roughly want to look at between 13 to 14 credits throughout your time in college in order to finish within those 4 years. Again, it's not a guarantee because some majors may have a little bit more substance and may need more credits, but on average, you're going to want to complete between 13 to 14 credits roughly in order to finish out your degree. So this is a rough idea of what I would advise with the student. Again, I always have conversations with students about, prior to them registering for class, I have conversations about students. Are you an early bird? How do you do in the morning with math classes? Would you rather have classes in the afternoon? These are questions I ask students because I don't want them registering for an 8 a.m. class and them not succeeding. Because it's very, very different. Trust me, I had an 8 a.m. class at Portland State University, and I lived an hour away. I had to get up at 6 a.m., get on the max by 7 to get to class on time. So there's these things that you have to think about as a college student in order to make sure that you're successful. So these are conversations that I have with students and conversations you'll probably have with your advising staff as well. But again, ask these questions. We're there to answer these questions for you. If these questions, we're just going to assume that you already know everything.
I wanted to share just a little bit about choosing your educational / career path, because I know when you're starting in college, you're thinking, okay, well, some students have this very clear, defined idea of what it is that they're going to major in. They've known all along. But really, not that many students are in that spot. It seems like it when you talk to people, but in truth, most students are not absolutely sure what they want to major in when they start. And that's okay, because college is a great place to determine what it is you are really interested in. There's so many more different kinds of classes than there are in high school. So you really have an opportunity to explore. And in those first few years at community college, you can kind of have that freedom. You'll be taking primarily your general education courses. Those are the courses that are part of the degree that are not so much totally focused on one major. That's the part of the degree where you're broadening your understanding of things and taking general education. At OSU, they call it the baccalaureate core, but there are there's set categories of classes, but lots of freedom within those categories to explore different things. So really want to encourage you to explore and enjoy the general education opportunity. Don't see it as a burden, but think of it as a time that you're going to explore different interests and solidify as you start to hone in on your interests. If, with the mindset that you're planning to transfer, as you become more and more firm about that, then you do want to make sure you're checking, like Ezekiel said, with an advisor all the time to make sure that the courses that you take are transferable. Or, there's room to take a few electives, courses that are transferable that will be considered an elective, but not that many electives. So wanting to, make sure that your courses as much as possible are transferable and helping you towards your degree. So one of the things that I really advise students in community college is to, You may not absolutely have it defined by the time you're finished with your first 2 years, but hopefully you can. But if you can't, try to narrow your interest at least into kind of two sort of broad categories. And I think that's really possible. Like, are you interested in science, engineering, math-oriented, healthcare fields, those kinds of things? Those courses, those degrees require certain amounts of science and math, and those can be those foundational courses that you'll want to focus on during community college, so that when you do transfer to the four-year school, you won't be behind, and you will have taken the what we might call foundation courses, the courses like, you know, biology 211, which is sort of the broad basic biology 211, 212, 213. That year of biology is good for almost every science major. So if you take that, you know, then you know, well, I'm not sure if I want to do this kind of science or that, or maybe this healthcare or that. But if you take that biology series, that's going to work for you. Similar to engineering, you know, you're going to need a lot of math. So keep taking the math. But if that, you know, I think most people a little bit, you know, into their education process can decide if that's your direction, or if your direction is kind of the other way, which is sort of the broad other way, which could include business or social science, psychology, counseling, social work, so many different other types of majors, many majors pertaining to teaching that is not science oriented. But those courses, those directions may not require you to take as much math or as much biology, or maybe you can take some different types of math and biology. So if you can at least kind of decide on one of those two paths, it'll really help you to make sure that you take the courses that you need, so that when you do get to that four-year school, you will have the year of this or that that's needed, so you can jump right in and start right away with the courses for your major at junior level, as a junior at the university. So that's my pitch, is to try to build your foundation based on whether you really want to go more science math stuff or kind of another path.
Anne mentioned a little bit about the junior status, credits, how they go, how they transfer, about making sure that you're choosing a major within a few terms or not. Definitely those are recommendations I always ask students to really consider within their first couple of terms while sending it to community college. Again, Anne mentioned that there was these horror stories about people saying, oh, well, my cousin went to community college, my brother went to community college. They were given wrong information. It took them a lot longer. You know, the community colleges is prestigious. You know, there's so many things that people have said about community college that are completely false. Remember, there's always two sides to the story. So never feel like if somebody has a horror story, it's going to happen to you. Again, going back to what I said, an advisor can be your best friend. So make sure to connect with them. So what I did right now is I brought up one of the what's called an AAOT, the Associate of Arts Transfer degree at the community college, that shows how credits transfer or how they're applied to the specific degree, right? The AAOT is universally accepted within the Oregon University systems. So basically, if you complete this degree, you're given junior status. So you'll become a third-year student. However, that's a very misleading thing to keep to, what am I trying to say? It's very misleading information, because students feel like, oh, okay, well, if I finish the AAOT, then I'm a junior. I've met all the requirements. But that's not true, because the AAOT doesn't cover for every specific major. So as an example, right, if you complete the AAOT, you can complete this AAOT with finishing everything that's on this chart right here that's required. You finish in any credits, boom, junior status, right? But have you met the requirements? Let's say you're going into engineering. Have you met the requirements? Have you taken all the engineering courses? Have you taken all the science courses? Have you done all the math that's required here? If you look at this chart, it only states that you need a few math courses, a few writing courses. It doesn't state that you need engineering courses. So this could be very, very misleading to some students who assume that if they complete the AAOT, they'll have met all the requirements for their first 2 years for any given major, which is completely false. This can actually fall in line with a lot of great majors like psychology majors, social work, writing, a bunch of other things that can fall into this category, but not everything falls into the AAOT. So what I tell students is, please be careful when you're choosing classes and don't assume that this AAOT will cover everything for whatever you're intending to pursue. This is where the horror stories begin. Some people are like, yeah, just follow your AAOT, you're good to go, you're set, it's accepted by other universities. True, it'll give you your junior standing, but if you're not following whatever specific prerequisites a given majors is needed, then you're not really following anything. You're just following blindly, honestly. That's just a term that I'm telling students, that you need to make sure that you know what you're studying. I'll give you 2 terms to decide what you need to 2 terms to pursue a degree or figure out what you want to do. After that, we really need to find out where it is that you want to study, because within 2 years, you could complete up to 30 credits. And remember that it takes 180 credits, 190 credits to pursue a bachelor's degree. So that's already a good chunk of courses that you've already completed. So now we need to figure out where you're going. So you're not wasting your money, and you're not wasting time and effort in pursuing a major that maybe you wanted to follow, but not 100%. So take some time to really figure out what you want to do. Give it a couple of terms. Most of those classes, those couple of terms will transfer, but after that, it's not a guarantee. So that's why I always have this conversation with students. Do you really want to get your AOT? What's your major? And let's see if it fits in. If it fits in, perfect. If you tell me I want to do psychology, great. Let's follow this. I'll show you how every class falls in line here. I create a plan for you and we go forward. But if you come in and you tell me I want to do engineering or I want to do biology, okay, maybe this isn't the best step for you. We need to figure out what colleges are requiring as far as prerequisites and what other courses they are recommending that you do prior to moving to university. So that's really, really important that we have that little note to the side that we need to figure out what every university wants. And again, checking in with an advisor is what's going to help you figure that out. Advisors at the community college are amazing. They have a wealth of knowledge. Some of them, are well connected with the universities that they could just call them or email them, and they'll have all the information within a couple of minutes or even a day, and they'll advise you and get you set up with an accurate plan. Now all you have to do is decide, do I want to stick out a year at the community college? Do I want to do 2 years at community college? Or how long can I stretch out my time at the community college before I'm forced to move to university? Because there's going to come a point in time where you have to move on to university. And again, checking in consistently with an advisor is going to be to your advantage, because that way we're always planning ahead and we know what to expect and when to move on. That's key. So I want to make sure that you have that in mind. The AOT might not always be the best option. In most cases it is, in most cases it will be, but not all the time. So make sure that you keep that.
Piggyback on that. And if it turns out you're, for whatever reason, don't feel like you're clicking with one advisor, you can always go to another advisor and find someone that you really do have that ability to communicate with. So don't feel like you're boxed in. Definitely seeing the advisor and finding one that you can work with is absolutely key.
And I still work with the community college. I still work at PC, but not to the extent of an academic advisor as I was before. So I've come from the background of being an academic advisor. I've worked with students. I kind of know some of these challenges. I know that sometimes we're not going to click, and you may click with a different advisor, and that's okay. We are not insulted by any of that. Feel free to work with somebody who fits your style and who you feel comfortable with. That's important, so that you feel comfortable with whoever you're talking